In this single video, we are going to get a masterclass on JavaScript functions. We will start by getting a simple overview of what functions are, and then we will understand the ins and outs of a function in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, functions behave a little differently and it has different ways of functioning. So if you really want to understand functions in great detail, make sure to pay clear attention to this lecture and don't skip it in between. It's a long video, but it will be completely worth it. I promise you, I will walk you through the entire function class in just one go. So in JavaScript, we can write functions in many ways and each way has its own best use cases. And so we will start by understanding the complete basics of what are functions, and then we will understand what is the difference between function declaration and function expression. Then we will understand what are arrow functions, and then how a function calls another function, which simply means a higher order function. Now all of this might sound a little bit overwhelmed, but trust me, these are 4 core topics to understand a function in a very clear way. And we will understand all of this in a very easy language with examples. So there will be no confusion at all, and that's my promise. Okay, so let's now start understanding function, but before that I will quickly teach you about the strict mode in JavaScript and why we should activate it in our script, and how strict mode enhances our ability to write good code. Okay, now do make sure to follow the channel's official Telegram channel. So join that. There you will be getting fast notifications and we will be able to chat with each other, and I'll quickly share all the updates about courses on which I'm currently working. Okay, do make sure to check the official website of the channel as well, which is codeblockdev.com. Let's understand functions. So let's now start our journey towards understanding some advanced concepts in JavaScript. So far we have talked about the complete fundamentals, so we understood all of the fundamental details that you required to move forward to understand some advanced concepts. So now we are going to take one step forward. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create one new file, and I'm going to call it advanced.js. And the reason why I've created this new JavaScript file is that when I will give you this complete code, you will be able to differentiate between the learnings. So in script.js we have contained all of our fundamental codes, okay, and in advanced.js we are going to discuss some basic to advanced steps. So the transition that is going to happen right now from basics to advanced, almost advanced, we will be covering in this advanced.js file. Okay, and then some more deep level concepts. For that we will be creating another file. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to close this script.js, and of course to run this advanced.js over here we need to build a bridge between them, so we need to link both of them. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this code. I'm gonna comment the first one, and then I will just say now index.html should load advanced.js, right? And save this, and just to test it, come on, I'm just going to write a simple console.log and I'll say running. Yeah, why not? Thank you Tab9. And I'm going to refresh the browser. We get running. All right, now just right now in the beginning I'm gonna tell you one thing, that can you see this? Each time we just let me show you. If I edit this code, you see I saved the file by pressing Command S, and now to see the output I have to reload this. So this is manual reloading. Now this is good. I'm not saying this is bad, this is good, but we can enhance this program. So what we can do is that we can set up our browser in such a way and code editor in such a way that we don't have to manually refresh this again and again. And for that what you need to do is that you need to install one extension, and it's called live server. I already have searched this, so if you click live server or just search it, let me show you. Okay, just search live server and hit enter, and of course this will be the plugin that we are going to install. Okay, I already have installed, so I'm not going to install it. You just install it, and what you have to do is that, let me close this one. Now go to index.html. Let me close the sidebar. Now here just right click and then go to open with live server. And if you cannot find this option right here, which I'm sure that you are going to find here in the, what is this called? This is called bottom navbar, whatever bottom tab you are going to find. Let me close the live server first. See, you can find this link of go live. Just click it and wait. And now you see that a live server is open. Now if you close this index.html real quick, and now I'm gonna right click, inspect, console, and you see that it automatically run. Okay, so the code automatically got executed. Okay, and if you check this file, okay, so we already have this one running as well. So if I edit this one, see that there is no change over here. Okay, but if you notice in the live server, you see that the code is updated, which means the execution is updated. And so to see this output, you will have to reload this browser. So browser window, exactly. So I think this one is good. Okay, we don't have to refresh this again and again. So if I again duplicate this code multiple times, save it, you see the output. Okay, so this is what we are going to do here. We are going to follow this approach. We don't have to manually reload the browser again and again. Now in your case, you might be seeing a little warning here like fav icon is not supported, something like that. Okay, you don't have to worry much about that. Refresh it 2 or 3 times and it would be gone. And if it is not gone, just ignore that warning. That is something completely unrelatable at this moment. Just focus on the outcomes or the output that you get after saving your main file, main JavaScript file, and yeah, we are good to go. Just make sure to link correctly. So open index.html and then link the file correctly. Okay, and then also from here you need to go live. And let me just change this to add the title changed quickly. Okay, and so from next video we are going to talk about some advanced concepts. So we are going to start from strict mode. So first I will tell you what is strict mode, and then we are going to continue our discussion on functions masterclass. Yeah, gonna see you in the next one. So use strict was introduced in the ES5 version of the JavaScript, and what it does is it helps you in finding out accidental bugs caused by programmer. Now all of this will become crystal clear with the help of an example, but if I were to give you an overview of strict mode, then understand it by this way is that JavaScript is a very loosely typed programming language. So sometimes it fails silently to figure out some accidental bugs caused by the programmer. So to come up with this, and so to solve this problem, JavaScript has this mode which is called as strict mode, and if you activate it, it will help you find out that accidental bug which was caused silently. So all of this will become crystal clear with the help of an example. So let's assume that someone visits a hospital for regular checkup. Now just for the precautionary measure, doctors take an advanced step and tells them to get admitted to the hospital, and they can be released once they are healthy. Okay, so I can declare two variables. I can say let can be released, and initially I'll say no, false, because doctor told them to get admitted. So yes, initially can be released, no, false. But now I'm going to declare one more variable, and I'm going to say is healthy, and I'll say yes, true. And so now I'm going to write a simple if statement, and first let me write and then I will explain you. And so now I'm going to write a simple if statement to check if is healthy, do something. Now what we will do here is that we will simply update the already existing variable and we'll change its value to true. So I will say it true. Okay, and so what I have done here is that I have mutated the original variable's value. So remember, in the fundamental section I told you that we can easily mutate the variable data in JavaScript. So that is what we have done here. Now I'm going to slightly change this variable. So can you notice this R here, right? So this R is capital, but I'm just going to write a lowercase r, okay, and I will show you what I have done here, so no need to get confused. Now I'm going to say console.log, or no console.log, but I will simply say what if, now I can say can be released, gonna say console.log yes you are fit, and else I'll say console.log no you are not fit. So if I save, it says no you are not fit, even though we have changed the variable name to true, variable value to true, it did not produced the message that yes you are fit, but it produced this message. Now the reason why you are seeing this message where it says no you are not fit is that we have used the wrong variable here. Well, we created this variable, right? So can be released, and we set it to true, but we are referencing the original variable name, and so this variable will evaluate to false, right? And once this variable actually evaluates to false, this expression actually, then the else part executes, and so that's why the else part executed. So if we quickly change this variable to the originally created variable, so this one can be released, now you will see that you'll get a different output. So it says yes you are fit. This is a bug. This actually is a bug. Initially, on the initial line, we have created can be released variable with the proper naming convention. So we have used camel case, and then initially we have assigned it a value of false, and then we thought that in this if block we are actually replacing the value of original variable, but no, there is a mistake, the naming mistake. So here this is a different variable, this is different, and this is different. So now we have no idea that there is a difference between the name of the variable. So this one is capital R, this one is not capital R, so there is a complete difference. Now with a naked eye you won't be able to figure out this difference, and you can see that with the error, if you print this code here, you see that you are getting the correct output. So yes you are fit, because can be released is now set to true, but initially can be released is set to false. So if you use the correct variable name, the output is different. So it says no you are not fit, so this should have been the output, right? So this is the correct output, but if you use this wrong variable name, then it will say yes you are fit. So this is the complete opposite of what we want to achieve. Why? Just because of this confusion here. We have created a variable, but we have no idea that we just created a wrong variable, although both of them looks similar, appears similar, but both of them are different, and just a single letter case created this much confusion to you. Now to solve this issue, we use strict mode. So to create the strict mode, just open the quotes, single or double does not matter, and just write this statement here, use strict. Okay, that's it. And always remember that always to put your this strict statement on the top of the file, although you can use it locally as well. Like if you want this use strict just only to apply strict mode to a certain block, you can use it here as well, but just for a good practice, always use it in the entire document. So now when I saved, you see that the strict mode already told us that hey, there is an error, and that is a reference error. Can be released is not defined. So now it figured out. Now if you ask, okay, so where can be released is not defined, so advanced.js :10. So advanced.js :10. So this variable is can be released, and now if you observe closely, you will find difference between the original variable name and then the variable that you created. So this is the problem. You see, this is a very minimalistic problem, a very little problem, but with a naked eye it is very difficult to figure out. So that's why we use strict mode. Now, one more thing about strict mode that you need to always keep in mind is that it also helps you to not declare accidental variable that could possibly become a future JavaScript maybe concept. So for example, if you try to declare a variable called let private, and if you assign it a password, something like this, okay, because private can really be a keyword or a variable that can actually store a password. So if you try to use console.log private, not protected but private, if I save this, you will see a warning. It says uncaught syntax error, unexpected strict mode, reserved word at advanced.js line 18. So on 18 you have used this private, you have actually declared it a variable, but actually JavaScript does not allow this, doing this in the strict mode. Why? Because in the future version this private can possibly be introduced as a new, maybe we can say a functionality or anything, we can call it anything. Maybe they can help us create a private variable. So they have already said that if you use strict mode, then there is certain things that we cannot allow you to create a variable with. And why it is does? Because just imagine that you are using private as a variable name, and if you quickly switch off the strict mode, now you can do it. You can do it. See, we created a new variable, but imagine 10 years ahead of this you have written this program, and JavaScript created something called private in the future version. Now there is a contradiction. You are using JavaScript and you have declared this private variable and you have stored user's password in it, but JavaScript had already told you in the earlier version that hey, please don't use this. Why? Because this could possibly be a variable name or any functionality that we would be allowing in JavaScript in the future version. Now your mind is hacked. What to do? Now you'll have to change the entire script or entire password logic based on this problem. So always remember to use strict mode. It helps you to not cause accidental errors, and whenever your program fails silently, it will advise you and it will look for the error that is completely invisible from the naked eye. So this is the power of strict mode. Okay, so I'm gonna comment all of this. Okay, and then let's now talk about functions. So what is a function in JavaScript? So far we have been writing code like this. So console.log hello, and when we save it, we see the output. Now if we want to say hello to few more of our friends, we can actually duplicate these lines and then we can add their name here. Okay, so I can say hello friend 2 3 4, and then we get the output hello 2 3 4, right? Now this is called wet code. So I'm going to write here this is, and I will come back to this point, what is wet code. So this is wet code. I will say wet means write everything twice. There is a concept in programming that is called dry. Do not repeat yourself. Okay, I'm gonna explain you this one as well. So this is actually wet code. You are doing the same thing but you have repeated it. Instead you can write dry code, and the best example to write a dry code is by using a function. So a function is actually a box. Yes, you can imagine function also as a box that has its own personal content in it, which by the way you have defined, and then you can call that function anywhere in your program based on certain rules. So if you read here, I have written a comment, say hello to all your 5 friends. Now you can do it this way, hello friend 1, hello friend 2, we just did it, right? But why to do it? This is wet code. Write everything twice. You see that we have written console.log statement. See, writing everything twice does not mean that you can write all of the code with this functionality, do not repeat yourself. No, it simply means is that whenever you are repeating the same code again and again, that is not good. Instead, you should try to write a minimal version of it, okay, which would actually separate the load on the computer's CPU while running the program. Now this is a technical thing, but again, why to write all of this again and again? So what we are going to do is we are going to write a function. We are going to create a block that would be meaningful on its own, and then we can use that block to do all of this task. So to create a function, you have three parts actually. So you have the name of the function, actually keyword. So the keyword, which is function itself, and then the name of the function, and then the code block. Okay, so just the way we created variable using var constant let keyword, to create a function you use the function keyword and then you give it a name. So next up is the name. So let's say that we are creating code for this one, so say hello, right? So I'm going to name say hi. All right, now after this you create this parenthesis. And why do you create this parenthesis? I will come back to this in a moment. And now this code block. So there you go. Okay, and so this is your function body. First is the keyword of the function, then you have the name of the function, then you have the parenthesis, and it is mandatory actually, so you cannot write function like this. No, you can do it using arrow function, but I'll come back to that in a moment. So a general function, a very minimal function, is like this one: function, the name of the function, and then the code block. Now inside this goes the code that you want this function to do. I'm going to say that say hi, so and say console.log hello. Okay, so when you execute this function will return you this value. So it will simply print hello. And how do you execute the code? See, first of all, I'm going to write three things. So you are going to hear three terms while dealing with function. It is called invoking, calling, running, or sometimes it's called executing as well. Executing, okay, execution, function execution. So these all four means same, and that basically means is running the function. We are actually telling the function that hey, please execute whatever inside you. So now to execute this function, you just write the function name itself. So you write say hi, and then you pass this parenthesis, and that's it. You called the function, you executed the function, you ran the function, you invoked the function. So all these four means same. We executed our function. And now if I save, you see we get hello, hello 2, hello 3, hello 4, and then on line 5 we have hello. Now if I comment all of these code, if I execute, now you see hello. Now suppose that we want to do all of this stuff. What you have to do is that you just have to repeat code here. So now here you can say hello 1, hello 2, hello 3, hello 4. And now if you save, hello, hello 1, hello 2, hello 3, hello 4. Now this is a block. This entire thing is a personal block. You can use this entire block by calling the simple say hi function. You don't have to write all of this code manually. Suppose you want to use all of this code, right? Just duplicate this code, okay, as many times you want. So I'm going to execute it 3 times. I will save it, and now you can see, my god, we have lots of output. Okay, so I'm just going to separate it. So I can say console.log, not like this but like this. Okay, now you will see the difference. So if I save, let me bring this console tab little up, come on. Okay, so you can see first we got the output from here to here, then here. Now imagine doing all of this manually. You'll have to do all of this like this. So I'm gonna repeat like this. So this is wait code. You're writing the same code twice. Okay, and by using a function you can actually do all of this at once. So this is the power of function. You write a code and then you call it, and then the entire block executes at that part. Now this is a simple example of function. So now let's say that you want to alert some message. So you can create another function. Again, this is also just a simple example. So don't don't get panic if you don't understand it. I'm sure you are going to understand it. So I'm going to say hello this time. Don't repeat the function name because say hi has already been created. So you cannot create say hi again. This is say hello, again CodeBlock, and here I'm just going to say alert hello there. So hello there, okay. And if I say say hello, if I execute it, if I save this, you see hello there, okay. So this is how function works. Now this part here is called parenthesis. So this is the name of the function and this is the parenthesis. Now this is actually useful when you want your function to take variables as data. For example, you want to create some data inside of the function that can be useful. You can use this parenthesis, and this is the reason why we have this parenthesis, and this is not optional. This is mandatory. Whenever you are writing a function, after the name of the function, you will have to declare this parenthesis. Otherwise, you will run into an error. Let me show you. Save it. Error, unexpected token, okay. So always pass this parenthesis. Now how this parenthesis actually is useful, this is the valid question. So here you can see I've said say hello to your 5 friends. So what you can do is that, let me comment these code, okay, otherwise it will come as an output which will actually confuse us, okay. So yeah, let's comment this one as well. And his name is John, Ram, Seetal, anything. So you can create a function, say hi to my friend. Although this is a very big function name, but still, just to clarify things, I'm going to take it into account, okay. So the name of the function is say hi to my friend. Now here you can say console.log hello, right? But again, I said that say hi to my friend. Now this function does not know the name of your friend, but wait, you can actually tell this function that, hey, you don't know the name of my friend? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you the name of my friend. So in this parenthesis, you can pass a variable. So you can say friend, not friends, of course, friend, okay. So say hi to my friend. Here goes the name of the friend. So this is actually a variable that is local to this function, the way we declared a variable here, right? Remember, let friend equals to this. Same way, now this let friend behind the scenes will be created here, and then whatever you will pass this friend will be used here. Now how to use this? You just need to concatenate the friend variable here, okay. Now this part here is called parameter. So I'm going to write a comment. I'll say parameter, okay. So parameter is simply the local variable of a function. So whenever someone asks you what is parameter, just tell them that parameter is a local variable for a function. Now how to use this parameter? Now here you can say, you can call this function say hi to my friend, open this parenthesis, and now the value for this friend can be passed here. So now you can pass the value. So I can say Ram, why not? So now the output will be hello plus friend. So the value of the friend is Ram, right? So if I save, it says so, okay, so say hi to my friend is not defined. Why? Because there is some problem in the, okay, so I can figure out the problem. So this let friend has been created, but it has not been assigned a value. I created this just to explain you. So let me get rid of this one, and now if I save this, we got the output. It was a very stupid error which I could not even seem to find out, but anyway, I figured it out, okay. So here you can see we have hello Ram. Now spacing issues, but we can fix it real quick by providing a space just after hello. So now if I save this, we get hello Ram, right? Now suppose I want to call hello to John. I can repeat this function, and here I can replace the name of the Ram to John, and now if you save, you see hello John. So this is the power of function. You wrote the code, you created a block, and now you are using the block multiple times. You can do it as many times. You can call it for Seetal, Rakhi, let's keep it to only this point, okay. Save it. Hello Ram, hello John, hello Seetal, hello Rakhi. Now if you were to do it using console way, you'll have to write all of the console.log statement one by one. So console.log ram, console.log john, Seetal, Rakhi, that is wet code. This is dry code. Do not repeat yourself. You have created a block and then you are using that function. Let me clarify some more things on function, because see, I'm just giving you a complete overview of function. There is a lot more to understand, but first understand how the function itself works. Okay, now this part here is the parameter. This is not called a variable, by the way. Okay, this is a variable, but this is local variable to this function, and the local variable to this function is named parameter. Even if you call it variable, that is not going to be wrong, but technically it's a parameter. Now what is this? This is not a value, this is argument. So parameter is the variable, local variable for a function, and then value is the data that we pass to it. Now suppose you want to give another parameter, you can actually do that. So you can pass a roll number. Okay, and now you can pass this roll number from here. So you can say 1, and then roll number is 2, and then this one is 3, and then this one is 4. Okay, and so we'll have to use this one as well. So console.log hello friend, and then we'll have to use the roll number as well. So I'm going to say roll number. Now the output will be like this. So first hello will be printed, then the name of the friend, which is Ram, and then his roll number will be 1, and similarly you will have John, his roll number will be 2. So something like this. Save this. Hello Ram 1. Well, again the spacing issue is here, but let's not worry about that. We can use template string, so I can replace all of this with a template string, and I can just write dollar. So this part is the friend, I'm going to say dollar roll number and it of this static. And now if I save hello Ram 1, John 2, Seetal, again we have spacing. Save it, and now you can fix it. See, so this is the power of function. This is parameter, which is a local variable to the function, and then we have the value that is getting passed to this parameter in the form of argument. So this is called argument passed to parameters. Okay, so this is function. Now this is just an overview of function. We have a lot to understand and a lot to discuss in the function. So this is just the basic concept. Okay, so with some more tricky and advanced details, I'm going to see you in a moment. So let's now take a quick overview of whatever we have learned about function so far, and I have written few quick points to remember. So the first one is a function is a descriptive block that we create to use it again and again to do a certain task. It has more use cases than this, but mainly it is created to reduce code duplicacy and format descriptive code in a block. An example can be say hi or say hello. So when you execute this function, it will simply say hi or hello based on whatever you have passed to it. So here I have written the example. So this one is the say hi, which just logged hello in the console, and this one alerted hello in the form of a pop-up. Okay, so depending on whatever you pass it, the function will do the task. And the second point is about the naming of a function. So we learned about descriptive name for the variables, choosing a descriptive name for the variables like first name, second name, or my first job, my second job, rather than doing something like job 1, job 2. Okay, always choose a descriptive function name that is actually readable. So here I have chosen say hi. So if a programmer would read my code, they will understand that okay, so this say hi function will simply say hi. Okay, so this is what it means by choosing a descriptive function name. I have also talked about this during naming conventions of variables, so both are actually similar. Third one is a parameter is the local variable for function, and we can pass it values while calling the function in the form of arguments. So this one here, so this is parameter, and why it is used is if you want to tell if you want to use function in a different way. If you want to use some data to be compiled within the function to do a certain task, you can pass it a parameter and then you can pass it a value in the form of arguments. Now if you read the fourth point, if you have passed a parameter but have not passed an argument, then it's totally fine, but it will simply be undefined. Now this can be confusing. So if you see in this function, say hi to my friend, I have passed multiple parameters. So the first one is friend and the second one is the roll number itself, and then I'm passing it from here. So Ram is the name and the roll number is 1. So both of them are getting assigned to it, and then we are using that here. Now if you don't pass this one, it will be undefined. So because simply we have not defined a function. If I save it, you see hello Ram undefined. Now why this is happening so is very easy to understand. If you declare a function but don't assign it a value, it is simply undefined. So if you say let random num, that's it. So if you try to access a random num, you will see it is undefined. So it is undefined, right? So this is the same thing that is happening here. We certainly have declared a variable which is local to this function, but we are not passing a value to it. So arguments passed only for the first parameter, not for the second. So this is simply undefined. Now if you don't want to use the parameter itself, you can just skip from here. So don't use it. Okay, don't use it. Defining is not a problem, but if you are defining it, do pass the variable. But if you are defining it and you are not using it, this is good. You can define as many parameters as you want, but if you are not using it, then completely fine. But if you are using it, then you will have to pass some kind of value, otherwise it will show up here as the data type of that variable. So in case of an undefined variable, it is undefined, right? So I've just printed the friend. So I've skipped the roll number. So you will see only Ram, John, Sheetal and Rakhi printed. So if I say hello Ram, John, Sheetal, Rakhi, okay, but if you want to print the roll number, again you'll have to do it something like this. So now it will come to play, and yeah, we need to fix it as well. I replaced the roll number, so I'll just give it 1, and now it is back to original. Okay, so always keep in mind these 4 major points. And next up we are going to talk about this general difference between function expression and function declaration, and this is very easy to understand. Okay, so yeah, you are going to understand it, and I promise you 100%, I guarantee you. Let's now understand the general difference between a function declaration and a function expression, and it is really very easy to understand. So a function declaration is a general way of declaring a function. So very simple, we have been doing this so far. So function, and here I'm going to create a new function, so I'll call it shout my name. Okay, so this is function declaration, a function that has been declared using the literal function keyword. So we used the function keyword, we gave it a name, and then the function body. So this is a very simple function declaration. On the other hand, a function expression is nothing but a simple function that is stored in a variable. If you closely observe, you see that it is function expression. So the name is function expression. Now remember, I told you that an expression is actually something that evaluates to a value. So let me show you. So if I say true and false, it will evaluate to a value, probably false, not probably but definitely false. And now you can store it in a variable, and you can use it without storing it as well. So if you say console.log true and false, you see we get false, right? So this is expression that evaluated to a value. Same way this function expression works as well. So a function expression is nothing but a simple value that is stored in a variable. So I can say let shout my name to, and now equals to a simple function. Okay, and this function body. Here we have just declared the function, but here we have used a function expression. We created this variable and then we assigned this variable this function. Here you can do something. I can say console.log hello, I am function expression, and same way I can do I am function declaration. Gonna call this one here, okay, and then gonna call this one here. If I save, hello, I am function declaration from line 88, so this 88, and then from 94 we get hello, I am function expression. Okay, so this is function declaration versus function expression. Now what is the difference between them? And so the difference is very clear. A function declaration can be accessed even before it is declared. So you can see that we have declared this function on line 87, right, and we are calling it on line 91. Now just focus, I'm going to cut this part here and I'm going to paste this here. So here we have declared the function, but we are accessing it on line 87, and it would work completely fine. If I save this, you see there is no difference in the output. We did not got any error. So a function declaration can be called before the function has been declared. Now if you try to do the same thing with a function expression, you'll run into an error. So again, I'm taking this code and I'm calling it above the function expression. So on line 95 I've declared this function expression, and then on line 94 I'm calling it. But now if I save this, see, it says cannot access without my name to before initialization. Now I can explain you all of this right now, but I won't do that. Why? Because this mechanism behind the scenes is called hoisting. Now for this we will dedicate a particular video in which we are going to talk about the complete internals of JavaScript. So how does it work? What is JavaScript engine, execution stack, call stack, web API. Okay, so what is this keyword, what is scope chain, how does temporal date zone work. Okay, so all of that we will cover in the working of JavaScript section. But for now, just keep it very simple. This is function declaration, which you can access before declaration, but you cannot access function expression before the declaration. So this is the problem. You will get into this problem. Now if you focus here, I have written this comment when function returns something. So now we are going to understand about this part, when function returns something. Now I'm going to comment this code here for now, and this is very important for you to understand. Don't skip this lecture, because what happens is that sometimes we just don't use a function, we just don't create a function or declare a function that consoles something in the browser, actually browser developer tools. Let me comment this one as well. We are running into an error. Okay, so what happens is that not all the time we declare a function. Create or declare, by the way, means same. When we create a function, when you declare a function, both means same. Okay, so I'm going to use these words interchangeably, so don't get confused. So when you declare a function, you not always use this console.log inside of that. Sometimes you create a function that returns something. So all of this will become crystal clear when I will write an example. So suppose I want you to write a program on which you will be given the birth year, and then you need to calculate the age of the person. So how would you do it? If you want to try, you can try, but let me just go straight away. Okay, so now also one more question you can ask, that if this is the issue, we just talked about the hoisting issue right here, what do you think will be the best way to create a function? Is it function declaration or is it function expression? Now it is really on your choice. I like to prefer to create function expression, because this way I can control the function with its variable name. Okay, now again, I don't want to run into any problem called hoisting. Now hoisting is not a problem, but it's a mechanism behind the scenes how JavaScript works. But again, function declaration, I don't prefer it. Okay, I'm not saying that you should not use it, you should use it, but I prefer to use function expression. Now let's create a function expression about the same program that we just talked about. So I'm going to say let age calculator equals to a function that takes year of birth as the parameter. Okay, and then this block. Now here we are going to return. This time we are not consoling it. Okay, so we are not saying console.log, but here I'm saying return. Now how do we calculate the age of a person given birth year. So we say current year minus year of the birth, right? So let's suppose that we are into 2025, and so how would we do that? So 2025 minus year of birth that we are getting from the user, right? So if someone was born in 2001, the code execution will run like this. So 2025 minus, and when you pass this year of birth, then what was that? 2001. So 2001, so the output will be 24. Okay, so now let's call age calculator and let's pass 1999. Now if I save this, you won't see any output. If I save this, there is no output, right? Of course, the browser refreshed. If I save the file again, did you see this circle moving here? It reloaded, but we did not see the output. Why? Because this time we are not using console.log within the function, but we are actually returning something from the function. And so always remember, when you return something from the function, the return value is stored in this entire line. So this entire line will actually replaced with this value. So 2025 minus 2001, that would be 24. Okay, so this entire line will be 24. Now 24 on its own is not going to do anything, right? We need to console it. So rather than consoling this 24, we can console.log this entire statement. Okay, so I can say console.log this entire statement, and now if I save, you see 26. Okay, so 2025 minus 1. Okay, do you think it should have been 26? Oh, we passed 1999. Let's pass 2001. So now we get 24, right? Now the best way to do this one, or I can say another way to print the value, is by storing it in a variable and call it age equals to this one. And now you can console.log age. Okay, and the output will be same, 24. So this is function returning function. Now if I comment this out, first of all I'm going to duplicate this code, and then I'm going to comment this code, and this time if I use console.log, now you don't need to do this one. You just call it, and that's it. You will see the output. You see 24, because you have straight away said that, hey function, when someone executes you, do this. But in the case of return, you say, hey function, when someone executes this, return them this, and let them figure out what they want to do with this return value. And so now what you did, you saved that to a variable called age here like this, and then you used this. Okay, and then you got the output. Now this way you have more control over function. How? Suppose that you want to use this function again. You can say that const age of John equals to, you can run this age calculator function again, and here you can pass let's say John was born in 2003. Okay, so now this 2003 will come over here, and then it will be replaced here. Okay, so now 2025 minus 2003 is 2022. So 22, not 2022, so 22. So 22 will be stored in this variable, and now you can operate on it. So you can say console.log, let's use template string. I can say age of John in 2025 is age of John. Okay, so if I save this, you see age of John in 2025 is 2022. Again, if you want to calculate it for someone else, you can create a variable for them. You can say age of Mike equals to age calculator, and then Mike was born in 2006, let's assume. Now you can say, you can just repeat this code. Why do I again? Console.log age of Mike in 2023 age of Mike. So age of Mike in 2025 is 19. So this is when a function returns something. Always remember that not all the time we console.log something within the function, but we also return something from the function. So when you return something from the function, when you call it, so this function call with the value, so argument, this is the argument, this is the parameter, right? So when you call the function, this entire function is actually the value Okay, so this entire function is the return value of this function execution. So always remember this one. Okay, this might sound little confusing, but watch this video again and you'll understand it. Okay, and the next step I'm going to discuss higher order function. Now to understand higher order function, the understanding of return was essential, and that's why I first talked about what happens when you return something from the function. So that's why we talked about return, and now we are going to understand about high order function, which is also called as when a function returns a function itself. Right now we are just returning a simple expression which would evaluate to a value, but what happens when a function returns a function? So let's now talk about higher order function in JavaScript. Now before I start to explain you what is higher order function and how it works, I'm going to give you a little warning. Now the code that I am going to show you in this example might seem little intimidating to you. Now this happens because it needs your logic to be cleared. Okay, so if you don't understand, if the code or the example that I'm going to show you does not make any sense to you, you don't need to worry. Just keep calm and try to understand what is going behind the scenes, because all the lectures are built on the basis of previous knowledge that we have gained. Now leave the rest of the things to me. I guarantee you that I'm going to explain it in a really very layman term, in a very simple way, and this is really easy. It's not really difficult to understand. Okay, so let's now start understanding what are higher order function. Now if you focus clearly, I have written few statements here. So in JavaScript, functions are the first class citizens. Now when functions are first class citizens, then function comes with lots of power with it, because in JavaScript we use functional programming. Well, we don't have this mandatory rule to use functional programming. These are some types of programming that we are not going to get into yet. These are some advanced level concepts. Okay, but you can use different types of way to write your code. Okay, now one of them is by using this function. So in JavaScript, function have been given lots of power, and I have mentioned the 3 power that it has. Okay, now it has some more powers that we are going to discuss little bit later, but on a top level of everything, this 3 power defines how function can be mostly useful in programming languages like JavaScript, where we have a paradigm like functional programming. Okay, now if you read the first statement, it says that we can assign a function to a variable. Now when we do this, then the result is function expression. So we have already done this above here. So this part here is function expression. We declared a function and we stored it in a variable and then we used it. So this here is a simple example of a function expression. Now this is one use case of function being first class citizen in JavaScript, and we have already seen this. Now the second thing is that we can pass a function as an argument. Now what is an argument? So the argument is the value that you pass to the parameter. So this is the parameter, and when you call this function, you can pass it an argument. Now so far we have just passed, so we have just returned something like this, but now we can actually use a function here as well. Now I'll come back to that little bit later, but now if you read the third thing, it says that we can return a function within a function. Now let me come back to that thing real quick. So far we have been passing this number, literal number, and then we evaluated that, but now we can pass an entire function as an argument. So this year of birth currently is receiving a number, right? But we can actually pass it a function as well. Now that function will be defined above on the top, and then we can pass that function as an argument. Now I can understand this might be going over your head, so let's not try to understand these two statements one by one. We have already seen the first one, function expression. So this is the exact example of function expression. So let's now understand we can pass a function as an argument. Now let me quickly show you this thing. So this is calculator. Okay, now let's see that how does calculator work. So you take two number, right? So let's say you take number 1 being 12, and then you operate on that. So suppose that you want to multiply. Okay, so you will click this multiply button. Okay, and then you will again take the second number. So let's take 30, and now you can click this equals, and it will result you this 60, this 360 actually. Okay, now let's try to implement this same scenario, and then by this way we are going to understand these two things. Okay, and I'm going to make everything crystal clear. So let's say that we are trying to build a calculator in JavaScript. So on the top of everything we are going to write code. So the logic would be something like this. So what can we do? So I can say const calculator equals to a function that receives two parameters, number 1, number 2, and then here I am going to pass another parameter which is going to be the type of calculation that the user want to perform with these two numbers. So here I am going to define a local variable type of calculation. Okay, and then this function body. Now here goes the code that we want to do. Now here we are going to return something, right? But what we are going to return? Well, we are going to return a function from here. Now that function will be defined here, and then it will be passed to this variable by calling this function in the form of an argument. Okay, now again I know confusing, don't worry, I'm here. Here I'm going to define a generic function. I'm going to call it multiply, and it will receive two parameters, and we are just going to return a multiply b. Okay, and then let's duplicate and then make it add, and this time it is going to just plus this. Okay, so we have two type of calculation. So we have multiply and we have add. Now how do we use this? To understand these two concepts, how are we going to use this? Well, here first of all we are going to let's call this calculator function first. Okay, so I'm going to call this calculator. Let's pass two number. Number 1 I will pass again, let's pass 12, and let's this time for number 2 we are going to pass 40. I just passed 12 and 30, resulted into 360 as the overall output, but now I'm going to give 12 to the number 1 and 40 to number 2, and then in this type of calculation you actually pass an entire function. So you push an entire function. Where is that function? Here is that function. Now you pass, let's say that you pass this multiply, right? So you are passing this multiply. Now this multiply, so let me show you again. This number 1 will get 12 as the value, right? And this number 2 will get 40 as the value. Now the type of calculation is not a number, neither a string, but it is this function which is multiply. Now this multiply is receiving two parameters, a and b. So it will be something like this, a comma b, right? This is type of calculation. But what is this type of calculation? This type of calculation is this function that we have passed, well, not this add but this multiply. So we have passed this multiply function here in the form of this argument. So now we are going to return this type of calculation from here. So we simply take this type of calculation variable, which actually is this multiply function. So I paste it here, and now this type of calculation receives two argument, which is a and b. Okay, so we open this code block, well, not code block but parenthesis, and now we pass num1 and num2 to it. Okay, and now all I have to do is that I have to save it in a variable. I will say output equals to this entire calculator, and now if I paste this console.log, I'll say output. If I save this, you see 480. Okay, Did you see this 480? So what happened is that this multiply function was replaced with this type of calculation. So something like this. If I take this multiply, so this multiply function came over here, and then we passed number 1 and number 2. Now this number 1 and number 2 is already defined here. So number 1 was assigned to A and number 2 was assigned to B. Let me prove it real quick. I just shifted back to the code, and now if I paste console.log, not paste but write console.log, I'll say number 1, number 2, and then let's see the type of calculation as well. Okay, if I save it, you see number 1 is 12, number 2 is 40, and number 3, well, not number 3, but the type of calculation is itself a function which is called as multiply, which receives two parameters A and B. Now what is this A and B? This A and B is this number 1 and number 2 that we have passed to this type of calculation. Okay, behind the scenes the logic is pretty clear. This is confusing, but this is clear. Now if I change this multiply to add, now these two numbers will be added, so the result will be 52. Okay, did you see that? This is 52. Okay, so two things are happening here. The first one is that we can pass a function as an argument. We defined one function here, second function here, and then what we are doing is that we are passing this function as an argument. The first argument is a number, the second argument is also a number, but the third argument is actually not a number but the type of calculation that we want. Okay, so this type of calculation will be called like a function, and then we are passing number 1 and number 2 it, and here you see that we passed a function to a function, and then we returned a function from the function. So this is the power of higher order function. Now let me elaborate a little bit more on it. Okay, so now suppose that you want subtract, right? You can again create a variable or divide. Let's go with divide. Why not? Function divide, again receive two parameters. By the way, you can call these two variables anything. You can call it yeah, why not? But from here you will have to return the same variable. Okay, so this A and B is local to this multiply function, this A and B is local to this add function, same way this A and B is local to this divide function. So from here you will have to return B divided by A. Okay, B divided by A, just a simple return statement. And now if you call divide here, divide, now the numbers will be divided, so you get to see 3.33. okay, so if I do the math real quick, 40 divided by 12, so 40 divided by 12, 3.333. so this is the output. Okay, so this is how functions are considered to be higher order function in JavaScript. So let's now summarize all of the points that is mentioned here. So the first point says that we can assign a function to a variable. We did it here. We created a function, we assigned it to the variable calculator, and then we can pass a function as an argument. So we have passed it here. So the first argument is 12, which is a number, and then second argument is 40, which is number 2, and the third argument is the function itself. So we are saying that, hey calculator, I am passing you number 1, which is 12, number 2, which is 40, and the third argument that I am passing you is the type of operation user wants to perform. So something like this, we are passing number 12, hey JavaScript, I passed you number 12, and then the type of calculation, so multiply, and then number 2, and then when we execute this function we get 360. Okay, so again, type of calculation itself is a function, so we call this function and then we passed number 1 and number 2 in it, and then number 1 and number 2 was assigned to this A and B variable of this multiply function. Okay, and the third point says that we can return a function within a function. So this entire part is a function, right? Now we are returning a function within a function, so this is also a function, right? See, this is the main function. Okay, and then we are returning a function from within of a function, from inside of a function, which makes it a higher order function, and then we are using this one. Now how does the output gets evaluated? So remember, when we return something, then the entire function's variable gets the value. So this calculator, when you will call it, then this entire calculator will be assigned this value 60. How? Because here number 1 will be 12, number 2 will be 40, so and it will be calculated. So it will be calculated, then this entire return statement will evaluate to the value and it will be stored to this variable, and we are exactly seeing that here. So calculator 12 40, and so 40 plus 12 is 52, and yeah, because we are using divide, don't get confused if I quickly shift it to add for a real quick example. So 40 plus 12 will be 52. This entire line will turn to 52 and it will be stored in this output variable, which you can use it. Okay, so this is what happens when we return something from the function. So I hope that functions masterclass was really very useful to you. Now if you really like these videos, do make sure to like and share it with your friends. Make sure to comment your feedback on it and do subscribe it. Now again, before I quickly move on, so let's now quickly talk about arrow functions in JavaScript. So far we have been writing or declaring functions like this in JavaScript, and so this is a very simple example of a function declaration, and this is a very simple example of a function expression. Now we have another type that is called as an arrow function. Now how do we create an arrow function? In this video I'm going to give you a very general overview of arrow function, and we will talk about advanced concepts and how an arrow function is different than a function expression and a function declaration. We will cover that in a little bit later video, because this involves understanding of higher level concepts like how does this keyword works in JavaScript. So when we will understand about that, then I will explain you how all of this works. Okay, but for now let's just take a simple overview of an arrow function. So suppose we want to greet someone. Okay, now to write an arrow function, all you do is you declare a variable. So yes, it is also pretty much similar as function expression. So you say let greet and then you say equals to, but this time not writing this function keyword but simply doing this. So just a simple parenthesis and then this literal arrow, so this equals symbol and then this greater than symbol and then this code block. So this is an arrow function. Yes, it is as simple as that. All we do is that what we had earlier, we had this function keyword, right? And we did not have this arrow function. So this is function expression. But now what we did to convert this function expression into an arrow function, we put this arrow here and then we removed this function, and that's it. This became an arrow function. Now let's just copy this one. If I paste here, and now if you call it, other than writing the arrow function, everything is pretty much same. You call it the same way you called other two functions, right? So if I copy this console.log statement, I will just paste it here. I will say hello from an arrow function. If I save the script, you see it says hi from an arrow function from line 160. So this is arrow function. We just removed this function keyword and we just pasted, or we just declared or wrote an arrow between parentheses and the open code block. Okay, and this became an arrow function. Now we have little more things to do. Now about parameters, right? So if you have parameter, if you want to receive parameter, you can do that. You can say a, b, and if you want to add them, you can say console.log a plus b, and again you can pass them numbers. So 12, 45, 57, right? So you get the output 57. Now always remember that if you have I can return something as well, right? I can simply return something. I can say return hello, right? So now to use this return statement, you will have to save this greet function into a variable. So I can say const what equals to greet, and now you say console.log what. Okay, so if I save, you get the value hello. We already understand how does a return statement works. So when you return something, then the entire value is saved to the variable. Okay, and then variable here is when you call the entire function, this actually holds this hello value. So this entire greet function has this hello value, which you then save to a variable, and then you use it, right? Now always remember that when you have single return statement, see, this is multiple line of statements, right? But if you have a single return statement, you can actually print it in a single line. So you can do something like this. Okay, and then you can skip this block, this code block. You can actually skip this code block. Now when you skip this code block, you don't longer need this return statement, so you can skip this return as well, and now it is as easy as this. So if you do this, you see we are getting the same output. Okay, so always remember that when you have a single return statement, you can just omit the return keyword as well as the code block, and this is a very simple arrow function. Now you can make it even more shorter. Now let's say that you receive one parameter. What you can do is that if you are receiving just single parameter, see, if you are receiving multiple parameters, then these parentheses are required. But if you are just receiving a single parameter, you can skip these parentheses as well, and now you have this single parameter which you can add here. So you can say hello plus a, not like this, but by using template literal. So you can say hello $a. Okay, and now you can pass this greet function some value. You can say code, and now if you save, you get hello code. So this is a very simple example of an arrow function. If you were to do this one using this simple function declaration, you'll have to pass here. So you say a, and then you pass code from here, and then you use it. But this is an overall arrow function. It is the shortest way of declaring a function. Now this function has some greater advantages, because if it does not have an advantage, why was it even created in ES6? An arrow function has greater advantages, which we are going to talk about when we will discuss about how to write good codes, or we will talk about advanced concepts like how does this keyword work. By the way, let me tell you that arrow function does not bind its own this. Again, does not make much sense, right? But don't worry, I'm gonna explain this when we will talk about how JavaScript works. JavaScript engine, execution context, execution stack, and all. Okay, so we will talk about all of that in that section. But for now, let's continue to understand what are arrays.